Good day everybody and welcome to the Smartest Studio channel. My name is Marinko Laban and this is another video and part of a series of tutorials about the VCV Rack modules that I have developed. In this video I'll explain the splitter module. It's available as part of the VCV Rack library bundled in the Smartest Studio free plugin. You can download and use these free of charge. Source code is also available at Git. And a link to the sources is available on my homepage, which also has a short manual for the modules that I've released. A link to my homepage and this particular module can be found below in the description as well. Note that this video is not intended to explain VCV Rack and modular synthesis in general, although some topics may be touched, but it really focuses only on the practical use of the splitter module. If you're interested in VCV Rack and modular synthesis, I suggest you check out channels like Omri Cohen Music and many others that discuss the topics in general. If you find this tutorial helpful or useful in any way, shape or form, please hit the like button as it will help support my channel. Feel free to leave a comment as well. Any comments, improvements that you may see, any other ideas, do let me know in the comments and I'll pick it up and do something with it. Now without further ado, let's take a look at the splitter module. Okay, so here we have an empty patch, well not really empty, but it's basically my starting point for most of the modules. And let me just pop up the splitter module and insert it. Now, what does the splitter do in general? It takes a polyphonic input channel cable and it will split with a maximum of the first 4 channels into a separate output as per these buttons. The choice of 4 is pretty arbitrary, but it was mainly intended to be able to split tritones chords or chords with 4 notes, which is the vast majority of all chords being played, and to be able to send each individual note to a different source of sound. And that's what we're going to do in this particular tutorial as well. So what I'll do is I'll add 4 sound sources, i.e. VCOs, and I'm using the VCOs that I developed myself and are also part of the Smartest Studio free bundle. So I'll insert a sawtooth VCO and I'm going to use 2 of them. No, let's use a sawtooth and a triangle, and I add a sine as well, and I'm going to duplicate that one. So here we have 4 VCOs, and I'm going to use the volt per octave pitch output from the VCV MIDI and control voltage module, send that to the splitter, and from the splitter I'm going to send channel 1 to the input, the volt per octave input of VCO 1, 2 to 2, 3 here and there. And then of course we have to arrange for the output of the VCOs to go to the mixer, but I'll use of course a VCA and a envelope to make that a bit more controllable. So let's check the VCV ones, and I'm going to add a VCA and I'm going to add an envelope. And I'm going to duplicate these 4 times for each VCO. I will have a separate one. Let's bring these together. So output of VCO 1 goes into, wrong color. Green is audio output in my color scheme. Always good to have a color scheme so you can recognize by the cable color what each cable does. And the output goes to, let me first, before I make you deaf, do the envelopes and set all the envelopes for each VCA. And now we can safely do it again. Connect the outputs to an individual channel of the mixer below. And now we have to make sure that we also connect the gate signals. And the last one. And now if I hit a quarter, you'll hear that we have sound. And as you can hear, or as you should be able to hear, each VCO has a different sound. So let me just switch off the VCOs except the first one, and here you hear that we have a VCO creating this typical harmony-rich sound. But what I want to do is that I want to have, let's say, the first VCO act more like a bass. So I'm going to set the pitch of that VCO to C2, which is actually, I'm going to put it to C0. So we really have a really deep bassy sound, as you can hear. What I also will do is that I will make it a little bit less sharp. Instead of going to an unlimited band signal, I go to limited and limit the number of harmonics to 15. And you found it a lot more mellow, so to speak. Let's toy a little bit around with the envelope. That sounds about interesting for a bass. Okay, that's the bass sound. Let's now look at or listen to the, let's say, more droney sound. That is also quite high. That's the triangle VCO. So let's switch this one to C1 as a tuning. And here we can also set the harmonics to a bit more limited, so it's a bit less sharp. Let's take 20 in this case. All right, and let's make the envelope also a little bit more stretchy. With a little bit more release. Okay, I'm happy about that. And then let's take a look at the first sign, which is rather high, but I want to make it a bit more plucky, so let's give it no sustain, no release. That's a bit too short. like that, and let's do the same. Make this maybe a C2. Sorry, I meant a C3, and we keep this one a C4, but also change the envelope. And let's listen to this one. Okay, a little bit shorter. All right, now we have something to work with. So let's put all the voices up again, and then let's hit a chord. And now you'll hear that the notes are not necessarily going to the right VCO, but also if I just hit a single key, it will still play all 4 chords, and that's because I'm using a single gate to trigger 4 VCOs, and no matter what voltage has been pressed last, it will send those voltages through all the VCOs, even if I'm just pressing a single key. So it's all nice that we split the polyphonic 4 channels to 4 different VCOs, but if we're going to hit all the VCOs with a single gate, you still hear all the VCOs in parallel. So what we would have to do is add another splitter, so that we not only split the volt per octave signal, but we also have to split the gates per channel. So I'm going to duplicate my splitter, and instead of having the gates coming directly from the MIDI signal, from the MIDI processor, I'm going to channel the gates via a second splitter, and in that case you will hear that I can simply and easily hit multiple notes and the right VCOs get triggered. Now what is important to understand here is of course that depending on the polyphonic mode that I have set here, and in this case I'm using the reset, but I could also use rotate for instance, it will depend on of course which gate is sent. And now I'm in the rotate mode, and you'll see that every time I hit a key, the gate is sent to channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4. It will rotate through all the polyphonic channels. So just hitting the same gate will send the volt per octave to a different VCO, and therefore still playing a C, but at different pitches and different envelopes and through different VCOs, and therefore having a different sound. So by itself this is quite an interesting way of using polyphonic channels. Another way to use the splitter with polyphonic channels is of course in using chords, and this is basically the intent of this patch, is that when I play a chord, that the bass sound goes through polyphonic channel number 1 to the low-pitched sawtooth generator, while the other notes go to the subsequent other VCOs. So if I play a chord, and then you immediately see the problem, if I don't play the notes in exactly the right order or exactly at the same time, it's still a bit random which notes goes to which VCO. If I start with the low note, it still rotates, so, and I can fix that by switching the polyphonic mode to a reset. So it will always start from the first free channel. And now if I hit the notes in the right order, it will play them in the right order to the right VCO. But the tricky thing is, of course, is that we want to make sure that every note, in whatever order we play it, the lowest note goes through the bass, and subsequent higher notes, i.e. higher voltages, go through the other VCOs. So to support that, the splitter has an option in the right hand mouse menu, which is called sort outputs. And by default, it is set to channel, i.e. first channel goes to the first output, second channel goes to the second output. But I can also select pitch up or pitch down. And that means that the output is sorted by pitch. So if I say pitch up, it means that whatever order I have here, so and if you look at the pop-up, you'll see that we have order 1 volt, 2 volt, 1.3 volt and 1.5 volt. But if I look here, you see that 1 volt, 1.3, 1.5 and 2 volt is now sorted ascending. And as such, whenever I hit notes, they will be played in that order and sent to their respective VCOs. So now I will always have the bass going through the sawtooth, and it doesn't really matter in which order I play the notes. And there are not a lot of keyboard players that press a chord exactly all notes at the same time, so there's always a millisecond difference between some of the notes. But the sorting of the splitter takes care of that, so it doesn't matter how I play it, only with an obvious difference. But in the end, once all 4 notes are pressed, the notes are sent to the right VCO in order of pitch. So demonstrated 1 octave higher. If the time difference is really small between the touches of the keyboard notes, you won't hear the difference, and you can be sure that lowest note goes to the particular sound source you want, and so on and so forth. Another alternative, instead of playing keys, of course, and using a second splitter, is that you can use a clock to trigger the gates, especially in generative music. That is something that you quite often see. I've also built a patch for that. Let me first save this one and open that particular patch. And here it is. We just reset it and pump up the volume a little bit. It's basically the same setup, except that I have only 1 splitter here. And I'm using 4 saw VCOs with some different settings, but also a bass here, and 1 and 2 octave pitches in difference, and some differences in the attack, and I have some difference in the harmonics as well. So each sawtooth has a slightly different sound. And if I now hit running the clock, you can play this particular chord and see how it runs through the bass to this particular VCO for the bass, and for the higher plucky sounds you'll see it uses those VCOs. And yeah, that is pretty much it. And yeah, you can change, of course, the chord that you like. And then again, with this particular chord, the lowest note goes through this VCO, the next one here, and the higher ones go through the pluckier sound. And you do not have to worry about how quickly you press the keys and stuff like that, as long as you do it more or less simultaneously. The clock and the splitter in the sort order take care of the rest. Now, just for fun, you can change the sort output while it's playing. So I'll change it from pitch up to pitch down. And the pitches that are played are exactly the same, but the whole sound context is drastically different, because now the highest note goes through the first VCO in a descending order. Okay, I'll shut that down. I think that is pretty much it. I'll hope you find the video useful. Let me know again in the comments, and I'll be working on some additional videos, especially on the use of the VCOs that I've developed. There's also some interesting stuff that you can do with that, with, for instance, the phase modulation. Hope to see you there. Thank you and good night.